Let's start our reflection today by addressing a topic that has crossed centuries and has remained relevant in all eras of humanity: power. When we think of power, we often associate it with dominance, influence, and control. However, these are only the most visible manifestations of power, as its true and deepest impact is on our minds and hearts. This is where philosophy offers us a clearer and perhaps more frightening view of how power can shape us, for better or worse. Epicurus, the great Greek philosopher, who dedicated his life to unlocking the secrets of pleasure and tranquility, also had an acute view of power. For him, power was a source of anguish, an illusion that when pursued took us away from true happiness. Epicurus believed that the unbridled pursuit of power leads us to unnecessary desires, making us slaves to a thirst that can never be quenched. He argued that true freedom and well-being could only be found in simplicity, moderation, and the pursuit of natural and necessary pleasures. This perspective of Epicurus invites us to rethink our own relationship with power. Does power, be it political, social, or even power over our own lives, bring us closer to happiness? Or does it actually push us into an abyss of anxieties and anxieties? The Stoics, in turn, shared this concern, but amplified it significantly. For them, the danger of power was not only in its pursuit, but mainly in its excess. Excess power, according to the Stoics, has the potential to corrupt the soul, diverting us from virtue, which is the true path to eudaimonia, a full life in harmony with nature. The Stoics teach us that power can be a tool, but it should never be an end in itself. If misused, it can take us away from our essence, making us arrogant, impatient, and insensitive to others. That is why understanding the dangers of power is fundamental, because only then can we avoid falling into the traps it has in store for us. By mastering power, rather than being dominated by it, we can live according to the principles of Stoic wisdom, maintaining serenity in the face of adversity, acting justly and compassionately, and seeking the inner peace that comes from self-control and acceptance of what we cannot change. In this video, we will explore the reflections of Epicurus and the Stoics on power. This will offer a valuable key for those who seek to live with more awareness and balance. Understanding these ideas can help you recognize the dangers that excessive power can bring to your life. And more than that, to apply these teachings in practice in order to live in a more virtuous and consequently happier way. By the end of this video, you will have a new perspective on how power, when viewed through the lens of Stoic wisdom, can be not only understood, but also controlled, and most importantly, used for your own growth and well-being. This content touches on the heart of the issues that affect our everyday lives, our ambitions, our relationships, and even our peace of mind. By opening your eyes to the dangers of power, it empowers you to make more conscious decisions, avoid excesses, and cultivate a life that is more fulfilling and meaningful. Epicurus, a name that resonates in the depths of philosophy, was more than just a thinker. He was a guide for those who sought inner peace in the midst of the chaos of the world. Born in 341 BC, on the island of Samos in ancient Greece, Epicurus grew up in a time of great political and cultural upheaval. But rather than lose himself in the complexities of power and ambition that consumed the society of his time, he turned to a deeper quest to understand the true nature of human happiness and well-being. Epicurus founded a philosophical school in Athens known as the Garden, which was a space where men, women, and even slaves were welcomed equally to debate and learn. This in itself already marked a break with the elitist patterns of the time. But what really set Epicurus apart was his revolutionary view of life and what really matters to be happy. Unlike many philosophers of his day, who focused on politics or metaphysics, Epicurus focused on the individual and how he could achieve ataraxia, that is, tranquility of the soul. For Epicurus, the secret of happiness was not in wealth, power, or fame, but in simplicity, moderation, and the pursuit of natural and necessary pleasures, those that are essential to our survival and well-being, such as friendship, freedom, and thought. And this is exactly where Epicurus's view of power becomes particularly relevant. In a world where power is often seen as the measure of success, Epicurus warns us of the dangers it poses. For him, power is a dangerous trap, a source of insatiable desire that can lead us away from the true purpose of life. Excessive power, according to him, does not bring happiness but anxiety, fear, and moral corruption. He believed that those who seek power incessantly end up becoming slaves to their own ambitions, losing sight of what really matters. Epicurus teaches us that power, like other material pleasures, should be treated with caution. It challenges us to look beyond appearances, to question whether what we pursue will really bring us inner peace, or whether, on the contrary, it will throw us into an endless cycle of dissatisfaction. In his philosophy, we find a scathing critique of the obsession with power and an invitation for us to seek a simpler, more authentic life, where true power lies in the ability to control our own desires and emotions. Epicurus was, and still is, a figure of immense importance in the history of philosophy. He offers us a powerful insight into how to live a good life, a life that does not surrender to the illusion of power, but seeks true happiness in that which is essential and lasting. When facing situations of power and conflict, staying calm and objective is a sign of strength. True bravery is that which is not shaken by external storms, but remains solid, like a rock in the midst of a raging sea. To the Stoics, life is a journey of virtue, wisdom, and integrity. They challenge us to see beyond the illusions of power and wealth, remembering that true greatness lies not in dominating others, but in dominating ourselves. On the stage of life, where power presents itself as a seductive titan, Epicurus offers us a penetrating and stoic vision through the lens of simplicity and moderation. His words echo as a call for balance in a world often gripped by unbridled ambition and insatiable eagerness. He firmly believed that true happiness does not lie in grandiose achievements or the accumulation of possessions. In a world full of excesses, he invites us to look within, to seek serenity in the little things, to find joy in the simple act of living. Simplicity for him was not just a choice, but a vital value that allows us to experience the fullness of life. He proclaimed that happiness could be found in human interactions, in the pleasure of a dinner with friends, in a sincere conversation, in the appreciation of a sunset. In these moments away from the clutches of power, we are liberated and feel truly alive. Moderation, like a friend of simplicity, becomes a beacon in the midst of the storm. Epicurus warns of the danger of excess, not only of possessions but of the desire for power. This unbridled pursuit of control and dominance over others takes us away from genuine happiness and plunges us into an abyss of constant dissatisfaction. Therefore, he teaches us that the surest path to inner peace is the conscious choice to live in moderation, understanding that satisfaction is not in abundance, but in the appreciation of what we already have. Excess power is like a shadow that hangs over our lives, eroding inner peace and fueling anxiety. With each step towards power, serenity fades, and dissatisfaction becomes our constant companion. Men, in their quest to control and dominate, often become hostages to an incessant struggle for status and recognition. Power, which should serve as a means to good, turns into a sharp machete, pruning our ability to love and connect with others. Epicurus, in his wisdom, sees this dynamic. Someone who craves power often ends up facing each other on a battlefield full of conflicts, where friendships are sacrificed for the sake of ephemeral achievements. The unbridled pursuit of power and wealth often ends in tyranny. Those who allow themselves to be seduced by the promise of absolute control become eaten away by their own corruption. Oppression manifests itself not only in social structures, but in the essence of the human being who, around his selfish desires, isolates himself and distances himself from his own essence. Power, far from being a sign of greatness, is transformed into a chain that enslaves. Those who seek wealth burden their souls, creating an empire of loneliness and despair. True oppression reveals itself when we look into the eyes of those who have been blinded by vain promises of security and status. The consequences are tragic. Broken relationships, broken hearts, and the essence of the human being constantly on the cutting line. Epicurus's view of power is a powerful reminder that true greatness lies in the ability to be content and reconnect with the simplicity of life. It is a call for us to look beyond the illusory glare of power and surrender to the deep truths of friendship, inner peace, and human kindness. As we live in moderation, the echo of Stoicism resonates, turning our lives into a hymn to authentic happiness, free from the shackles of tyranny and corruption. And how does Stoicism deal with power? For the Stoics, royal power is not a burden that is carried, but rather a flame that burns within us. It is self-sufficiency, self-mastery that makes us truly powerful, not the ability to dominate or manipulate the external world. The Stoics teach us the art of acceptance, a complement to resilience in the face of external forces that often escape our grasp. Act in line with what can be changed and accept what cannot, they tell us. This acceptance is not a fateful surrender, but a conscious act of liberation. When we free ourselves from the burden of controlling the uncontrollable, we gain power over our own peace of mind. Thus, the storms of life become mere weak winds in comparison with the strength of our interiority. Stoic greatness lies not in external circumstances, but in the virtue we choose to cultivate. The true measure of a man is his wisdom, his ability to discern between what is essential and what is ephemeral. Thus, in times of trial, the Stoics turn inward and, with integrity as a guide, stand firm in their moral principles. They remind us that it is not the apparent result of actions that defines our worth, but the intent and righteousness of them. Integrity becomes therefore an armor against the temptations of power and corruption. The true Stoic faces life with equanimity, staying centered even in the greatest upheavals. Life is a stormy sea, filled with waves of challenges and uncertainties, and those who embrace this reality learn to navigate it masterfully. By keeping calm, we can observe the power dynamics, not as mere players, but as wise observers who decipher the game without being dragged by it. Now you will learn how to deal with power in your personal and professional life. In the contemporary world, where leaders and institutions often wield considerable power, Stoic wisdom emerges as an essential tool. How then can we respond to excessive power while preserving our autonomy and integrity? One of the first strategies for dealing with leaders with excess power is to develop self-confidence. Rather than being intimidated by authority figures, it's critical to cultivate confidence in your own capabilities and values. Recognizing your strengths and contributing to the work environment clearly strengthens these foundations. In addition, it is important to have clarity of objectives. In oppressive leadership situations, holding fast to your personal and professional goals serves as an anchor in times of pressure. Knowing your vision and what motivates you will give you the strength you need to resist harmful influences. Practicing assertive communication is also essential. When interacting with leaders, being clear and direct in communications creates a space for healthy dialogue. Expressing your concerns in a respectful and firm manner can help break down barriers and foster understanding. Setting limits is another essential measure. Knowing when and how to say no to requests that compromise your integrity or well-being helps preserve your autonomy in the face of domineering leadership. Respecting your own boundaries is a crucial way to maintain power over your own life. Meanwhile, Stoic strategies offer a powerful guide to preserving integrity and autonomy. An effective practice is daily reflection. Taking time each day to contemplate your actions and choices, recognizing where you acted in accordance with your values and where you may have been influenced by external pressures, helps align your decisions with fundamental principles. Cultivating acceptance of what we cannot control is also a valuable skill. Learning to distinguish between what is under your control, your thoughts, reactions, attitudes, and what is not, the decisions of others, your external circumstances, provides a sense of freedom that avoids unnecessary suffering. Focusing on developing emotional resilience during difficult times is an essential strategy. Practicing meditation or mindfulness helps in maintaining calm and building a strong foundation against adversity. And how can we foster a culture that values moderation and responsibility in the use of power? One powerful way is to lead by example. Being a model of moderation and ethics in your work environment or community inspires others to follow the same path. Actions have an impact and can transform the culture around them. Fostering open dialogue is another way to cultivate this responsibility. Fostering a safe space where everyone feels comfortable expressing concerns about the use of power fosters a climate of transparency. Promoting regular meetings, feedback, and discussions on ethical practices is vital for this change. Recognizing and celebrating collective achievements rather than individual ones reinforces the idea that collaboration is essential and that successes are the result of joint effort. In addition to establishing clear guidelines that limit abuses of power, it is essential. This includes anti-harassment policies, transparency practices, and codes of ethics that everyone must follow. By implementing these strategies, we can develop a resistance to excessive power and transform the environment we inhabit into a space where moderation, integrity, and collaboration prevail. And before closing, I want to extend a special invitation to you. If you have been inspired by these reflections on Stoicism and personal development, I would like to remind you that there is much more to come. If you want to dig even deeper, don't miss the opportunity to check out my other videos. Your personal growth journey deserves to be enriched with these contents. I wait for you in the next video.